Agent Orange. I spoke to her several months ago when she was here in the United States as part of this tour. Last year, we also spoke to those who came to this country as part of the tour to let people know about the lawsuit against over 3 dozen chemical companies that manufactured the toxin. Nguyen Van Truy and Nguyen Thi Hoan. Unfortunately, one of them has died since that time. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. Before we go to break one, you've been looking at Agent Orange. We haven't even talked about the tens of thousands of U.S. soldiers who were affected, not to mention the millions of Vietnamese effects of Agent Orange. You were looking at this decades ago.
Yeah, well, you know, this is one of the great war crimes in American history that the media in this country, unfortunately, and our government continue to ignore. I remember almost 30 years ago, as a young reporter in Philadelphia, in about 1979, 1980, just after the war, I was covering the returning veterans from that war who were complaining about their exposures and their illnesses, and they thought was related to Agent Orange. At the time, the government was denying it. Now the government gives compensation to American soldiers for rashes or chloracne related to Agent Orange exposure. But at the time, I noticed that there had been, there was a report, I think it was in Time magazine, that the Minister of Health of North Vietnam was conducting their own study of the effects of Agent Orange on the soldiers who had fought, the Vietnamese soldiers who had fought and their families. So by chance, I wrote a letter to the Minister of North Vietnam and asked him, when you finish your study, could you send me a copy? I never expected to get an answer. About 4 or 5 months later, I get a letter at the Philadelphia Daily News from the Minister of Health of North Vietnam, and it is in French, a typewritten, there were typewriters still in those days, a typewritten report where the government had compared North Vietnamese soldiers who had gone into the South to fight and who had been exposed to Agent Orange, and North Vietnamese soldiers who had stayed in the North and had never been exposed to Agent Orange. And they traced what was happening to their families, and they found enormous, much higher degrees of birth defects, miscarriages, and sterility problems with the wives, and also in the children, the birth defects in the children of those who had gone south. So I go to my editor at the time at the paper and I say, look, this study just came out, nobody knows about it, and it's clear proof that Agent Orange is causing major problems in the Vietnamese population. My editor looked at it and said, this is communist propaganda, it's coming from an enemy of the United States, we're not going to run it. And they never published the article that I started to write on it. And here we are 30 years later now, when you see these horrific pictures of what the impact has been on the Vietnamese population. And it's amazing that the media in this country is still not providing sufficient coverage to the issue.
And just to clarify, this delegation that has come to the United States, well, this year and last year, 2 members of the delegation, this in 2007, Nguyen Van Truy and Nguyen Thi Hoan, weeks after they left the United States after visiting, they died. We had interviewed Nguyen Thi Hoan, and you can go to our website, democracynow.org, to see and watch and read that interview. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. When we come back, we will look at the Persian Gulf War and U.S. soldiers who got sick there as we continue our special Poisons of War. Stay with us.
Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid my burden down. Glory, glory, hallelujah, since I laid this burden down, I'm gonna ask my dearest brother, help me lay this burden down. I'm gonna ask my Dearest sister, help me lay this burden down. Glory, glory.